Cockney identity remains.
People say, oh, I miss the old East End, yeah. What do you miss? Is it the outside toilets or the old tin bath that used to drag in front of the fire every Friday night and then take turns to get in, you know? Is it that you miss? No, it's not. You miss being young. We all miss that.
Chris, the East End poet, not romanticising his old manor, Mile End, though it is tempting with a place of such history and character. The truth is, the East End is ever changing.
So the City of London is here, and this is the East End. It's the East End of the city.
Reg has been a Fleet Street photographer, cleaned windows, worked in a treacle factory, and helped with town planning as a Tower Hamlets councillor.
We have, I suppose you could say, it's almost a contemporary map of London. This was produced by the London County Council, because this is the time when tower blocks appeared. We lived in a house overlooking a canal. From there we moved into a prefab, and we were given basically one choice, because it's coming down and you've got to go. And we moved into a tower block. And our plan at the time, when I think back, basically created lots and lots of council housing, but not many jobs to go with that development.
Big buildings, big money replace the docks now, once one of the biggest employers in the 60s, as East End people moved to council homes in places like the Isle of Dogs.
In the docks itself, it was not going to work. It was like going to meet your friends.
Ron was an officer of the Stevedores and Dockers Union. The last ship was offloaded in 1981, not long before the TV show EastEnders first aired.
At that particular time, you've got to realise the East End was made up of family communities. So if you went in a certain street, you could say about half of that street was related to one another. And once the docks closed, they moved people out to other areas, and it broke up that family circle that you had there.
And the rapid change continued through that decade.
In the 80s, I think, when Mrs Thatcher, God bless her, sold everybody their council places, and then 2 years later they all sold them for a huge profit when they moved out of the country. I think that had a huge impact on the East End, to be very honest. But it's very, I think, once again, huge impact, because you had a huge swathe of people moving out. And when you get a huge swathe of people moving out, you get a huge swathe of people moving in.
Migration has defined the East End, Huguenots followed by Jewish, now Bangladeshis. Political activism is the other thread running through the years. Today's fight for modern Cockneys is against the creep of commercial development.
We are seeing huge changes, and so, as local people, we have to sometimes fight it. We have to also be able to negotiate our space within the city, and sometimes that's very difficult. And so with campaigns like the Save Brick Lane campaign, we've really tried to push for local issues. You can see from the placards behind me that there's lots of issues. There's a cumulative impact of these developments, and often it means pushing people out.
But the East End identity remains.
If you walk down Brick Lane, Bethnal Green, Whitechapel, you'll still see that the bedrock of the East End is still there. That it's a place where working communities come together, find opportunities, interact with their neighbours, and it's still there. I don't buy into this idea that the East End has actually broken up. It's still here, it's still living and breathing.
I still walk down the road and see people I knew from way back when, or their kids and stuff, So, yeah, there is something about it. There's something about that East End thing.
Wendy Horrell, BBC London.
Now we're going to fast forward to the 2000s now with my next guests, Ricky Norwood. I hate calling you fat boy, but